Hey YouTube, Mark here. It's my night for dinner and we are going to do a flank steak with, what is it, garlic, lemon, and spinach. Yeah, it's really good stuff. I like this. So let's get into it. I'll show you exactly what you need, and we're going to do something a little bit different. Normally I don't show prepping the ingredients at all, you know, the cutting and slicing and dicing, and I'm actually going to start doing that to make some of these cooking videos a little bit longer, so it's just not, you know, 5 minutes of me throwing shit together or throwing it in a crock pot or something like that, and voila, it's done. So we're actually going to get into this, and I'm going to show you how to slice, dice, cut, slice, you know, all that crap. All right, let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to start getting our meat ready. Okay, we're going to use beef flank steak. What we're going to do is we're going to slice that up fairly thin. I mean, not, you know, not wafer thin, but you know, just a good quarter-inch slice or so. Then we're going to marinate that. And it's just, the marinade is really simple. It's soy sauce and sriracha. Modify the sriracha. If you don't like heat, don't use it at all. If you want to use a different brand, if you want to use Louisiana's hot sauce or Frank's or Tabasco, you know, you use whatever you want. Okay, I'm going to go with sriracha because it kind of keeps with that little Asian twist that this dish has. Okay, all right, now I got about 3 pounds of beef here that I'm going to be slicing up, so yeah, let's get into it. Always make sure that when you're cutting your flank steak that you're cutting across the grain. Let me show you what I'm talking about. You see how the fibers, see how they run in the meat? So I want to cut across that. I don't want to cut with it. Usually the very end of the flank steak has just a lot of fat. I just throw that out. And also, if they're too wide, I could just slice it and then slice it up, you know, cut it in half. I'm not going to. I like nice long pieces. Alright, got all my beef sliced up. I'm just going to pour it into a Ziploc bag now. I suppose Ziploc is actually a trademark name. I should say a zip top bag. There we go. All the beef is in there. Alright, so I got all my beef in the bag. I got a cup of soy sauce. You can use low sodium if you want. You can use no sodium and make your own stuff, whatever. There's my hot sauce. I go with the full sriracha. Zip that closed. Just mix it around real good. Okay, I would suggest making this up at least 30 minutes before you actually cook. But the longer it sits in here, the better the flavors are going to be. So make this up, you know, well in advance. If you're using the full sodium soy sauce, you probably won't want to go over maybe 5 hours of marination. It just gets too salty after that. So yeah, time to let this sit and marinate. Of course, in a pan in the fridge. Okay, the next step that we have to do is get the rest of the ingredients together. So, I've got 6 tablespoons of butter, all cut up into 1 tablespoon amounts. And on a stick of butter, you know, they got the little lines on there that show you what a tablespoon is. So I just cut it up on those lines. I've got 6 cloves of minced garlic. Now the reason you're not seeing this being cut up is because, well, I don't actually mince up garlic heads. This is pre-made, pre-minced garlic that comes in a jar. Just saves me a little time, and I've actually had garlic that sat so long in my refrigerator that it started to sprout because we don't use a whole lot of garlic. So, but anyway, I've also got about 1/3 of a cup of a beef broth, and I use a nice beef bouillon paste. Okay, I don't use bouillon cubes; those are a bit too salty. This is better than bouillon. It's the name brand. And what they do is they actually make a beef stock and reduce it to a paste consistency. So it is literally beef stock in paste form. 1 teaspoon of this can flavor a cup of water. So you just get some water going on the burner on the stove, you know, in a pot, in a kettle or whatever. Pour out your 1 cup or however much you need. Put in your stock, just mix it together until it's dissolved. Easy peasy. This is parsley, fresh parsley. I will chop this up. I need roughly 1/4 cup, maybe 1/3 of a cup of parsley. So I did buy a whole bunch of parsley because we had a couple of dishes that actually called for fresh chopped parsley. So I did buy a whole head of it just because I knew I was going to use it. Same thing with the chives. I bought fresh chives, not dehydrated, not in a little jar. And we gotta chop that up as well. And I also have a lemon here. I need the juice from 1 lemon. Now the reason it's in a bag is because I had a recipe that I was cooking last week sometime, I think. And I needed the zest off of 2 lemons. So once I got it all zested, I just stuck it in a little plastic bag here, and they'll actually keep like this for quite a while. Probably about maybe a week and a half. Maybe you can push it that far. But yeah, this has only been in here for maybe 4 days. Still looking good to me, and there's still a lot of juice in here, and we need that juice. So juice of 1 lemon. Short of the spinach, which you can wash it if you really need to. I'll give it a quick bath. And then, but the recipe literally calls for like, what was it, a pound and a quarter, pound and a half, something like that. To me, that was just way too much spinach. I mean, you wilt it, and once you get it wilted, it's really not much there. But then the whole dish just kind of starts tasting like spinach. And I don't mind spinach, but I don't want the whole dish tasting like that. So we've reduced it down to 2 5-ounce containers of spinach, and to me that's enough. We'll make other vegetables to go with it, so I'm not worrying about leafy greens. All right, let's get cutting. We need to chop up the parsley, the chives, and we got to juice that lemon. All right, juice the lemon. We're just going to cut it in half. And no, I mean, you might see a lot of cooks, they'll sit there and they roll the lemon under their hand and stuff like that. You don't need to do crap like that. Alright, now I'm just going to let this sit on top of here and just let the remainder of the juices in there drip through. Alright, next thing we need to do is we need to, let's do the chives. I think that'll be a little easier. Alright, we're going to chop up the chives, and I'm just going to use the whole thing. To chop loose parsley, I actually take it off of the bigger stems. These small thin stems that you see there, that's okay. But these bigger thick stems, no. And I'm wanting enough for 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup, somewhere in there. Alright, let's start with that and see what we get. There you go. That's chopped parsley right there. Alright, get some cold water going. Throw in the spinach. Then once that fills up, I'll just let the spinach sit in here and soak just for maybe 10-15 minutes. Okay, the spinach has been soaking in the water now for 10 minutes or so. I'm just gonna kind of spread it out on this paper towel just to kind of help dry it off a little. The spinach is just going to sit here on the paper towel and dry off for a little while. It doesn't have to be completely dry. I'm not putting it in a salad spinner and getting all the water off of it. I'm not, putting another paper towel over it and dabbing it up. It doesn't need to be 100% dry, okay? We're going to be cooking it. It's going to evaporate off anyway. It doesn't matter. So I got nothing to do until I'm actually ready to start cooking dinner. I've got everything measured out, everything pre-cut, everything pre-sliced, everything chopped up, everything. That's it. So I've actually got a few hours yet before I'm actually going to start the cooking process. The only thing I need to do is just flip the meat, the bag of meat in the fridge. Flip that every hour and a half or so. That's it. Alright guys, so I'm getting ready to finish off the cooking. I should say start the finishing of the cooking. No. Anyway, I'm going to put this, I got a good sized skillet here. I'm putting it on a high heat, and we're going to put in a couple of tablespoons of the butter. And we're going to let that melt down. And then we'll put the spinach in there, and we're going to just wilt up that spinach just a little bit. Okay, once the butter gets completely melted down, I'm starting to get a little bit of bubbling. I'm actually going to turn it down to about a medium heat. I don't want to burn my butter. I'm going to take my spinach and just place it all. Get it all in the pan. Now with all the spinach in there, now if you're using the full, what was it, a pound and a quarter of spinach, you'll probably have to do this in a couple of batches. Now just here, take it to it. You notice that the spinach starts to move rather quickly. See how it's starting to look, you got the dark color on the leaves there? That's what you're looking for. It does not take long. It doesn't take long at all. Alright, now that's all I'm going to do. Some of the leaves still haven't quite wilted yet, but there's enough heat in here that as I'm doing the meat, those will cook off. So I'm going to put them into a container. That's good enough. Now, I'm going to add a couple more tablespoons of the butter. Again, take it up to a high heat and get that butter melted. All right, Got my marinated beef here. Alright, I got a little bowl here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of work again in batches. I'm going to reach in, grab a few pieces. We're just going to start searing pretty much one side at a time. So we're just going to sit here and let this cook for just a couple minutes tops. Take it, flip the pieces over. If you overcook them, because of the flank steak's abilities, it's going to get super tough. So just really quick. Now some of the juices in the marinade that's in the meat will start coming out as well. So the butter is getting really quite brown looking. That's fine, that's normal, don't worry about it. Okay. After just a couple of minutes, pull everything out. Add another batch of meat. The reason I spun the pan like that was because on a heating element, I got electric stovetop here, and the heat will kind of be stronger in one spot of the element, and it's usually where the element first connects with the stove, and that's going to be the hot spot. So I sometimes will spin the pan to distribute that heat a little bit better. And we'll just keep on doing this, one batch at a time. Just, you know, fill up the bottom of your pan, let it sit there, flip it, take it out, do another batch. Just keep going until you're done with all your meat. Alright, got some frozen vegetables here that we're going to get ready to throw in the microwave. But not just yet, I got a little time. My last batch of meat is coming off. Alright, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick in my last 2 tablespoons of butter. Pour in whatever's left of the marinade. The garlic, the chives, the parsley, and the beef broth. One other thing I like to add real quick is just a little bit of Zatarans. Maybe a teaspoon or so. We're going to let this cook for a couple of minutes and just kind of reduce down. Alright, my sauce is looking pretty good. Just need to throw in the lemon juice at the very end. And I'm going to put all the beef right back into the pot. Alright, I'm going to try now to push the meat off to the side, create a little bit of a well in the middle. And And you put all the spinach right there. And now I can get my veggies going. And that's it, guys. Dinner is basically ready. I'm waiting for the vegetables to stop, but the beef dish is ready. I turned the burner off. It's done. So as soon as those veggies are done in the microwave, we can eat. Man alive, doesn't that look good? Whew. That looks really good. Okay, time to dish up. I'm going to use kind of a shallow bowl because there's a lot of juice in here. Technically, I could probably have made some rice and put it in some rice, but that would help, you know, suck up some of that juice. But didn't feel like it today. There you go. That's dinner tonight. Yummy, yummy. A little spinach. Not bad. Now, I did use a standard sodium level soy sauce. So it does taste a little bit salty, but it's not horrible either. And because I cut the meat against the grain, meaning that the meat fibers are only that long, it's actually nice and tender. And the vegetables just have butter on them. Look at that, so tender I can cut it with a fork. See you later, boy.
See ya.
So let's try the spinach and the beef together. It goes really well. I think spinach and beef kind of work very well together. And truthfully, if we weren't on the low sodium restrictions that Jen has when she's home, and I was just eating basically regular seasoned meat and foods like I normally would do, this probably wouldn't taste that salty. But because I have been getting conditioned to having low to no salt in my food, yeah, now all of a sudden this tastes salty. But for a regular person, I don't know if this would taste salty at all, because after just those first few bites, I'm not really tasting that high sodium anymore. Well, this is Mark saying thanks again for watching. I hope you guys try this one. This one's really good. See you guys on the road.